on the News Channel 5 network. This is MorningLine with Nick Barris.
Billionaire.
Here we go. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us on MorningLine. Nick Barris here, joining you on a Tuesday. We have a good show on tap for you. We're going to talk politics this morning, and some of the politics of what's happening along the U.S.-Mexico border, immigration, and the like. We touched bases on it a bit last week with some guests that had a certain point of view on it. We said on Tuesday we're going to have Steve Gill on. Of course, you know who he is. Well, let's just bring him on right now, and he comes at it from a different point of view. And it's good to have you with us, Steve. It's a pleasure. It's been a while. But
we've been friends for a long time.
We go way back. I was telling him, I remember in the day, how long ago was it? When you were running?
94.
94. And Larry Britton and I, who used to co-host, and Larry, of course, bringing you on and meeting you for the first time and all that. And it's
and a few Jack Daniels barbecues in the midst of all that.
Judging that's a good gig. Are you going to do it this next year?
You got to get me back on that gig.
Well, I would think a phone call from Steve Gill, they'll take you back on. But I mean, yeah, we have fun doing that. But obviously, Steve's been involved politically for years here. And from the Republican point of view, Tennessee Star as well. Tell folks what that's all about, just so they know.
We've got an online news site, TennesseeStar.com, and again, it's a right-of-center perspective, but our focus is on news. Everybody wants to write opinion pieces, and we want to be about 90% news, maybe about 10% opinion. And we launched a year ago, February. We've had over 8 million visits, and our goal is to start going into other states, battleground states like Ohio and Pennsylvania and others. And folks go to TennesseeStar.com and let us know what you think.
Yeah, that sounds good. Check that out. And so he's obviously a political editor, political commentator. You see him on a lot of TV shows and on the radio.
Only on yours when I give my best stuff.
Okay, that's what I was counting on. All right, well, you know what we're talking about today, and we may stray a bit from it, but the immigration crisis, what's happening right now, it's just I just want to point out up front, tell me, what you think of what's happened over the last, what was it, 5 or 6 days, from initially when there was that firestorm of controversy over, well, what about separating these folks when they come through, and then the president kind of saying, no, let's not do that as much anymore, and then some more strong rhetoric again, though, even last night. And how things, your take when you saw that and the way it's played out to where we are now.
I think a couple things. Even after the executive order that the president put in place, was going to keep families together if they came together. And again, part of the problem here is, as Kristen Nielsen, who's the Secretary of Homeland Security, has pointed out, of the 12,000 children that have been put into federal custody over the last several months, 10,000 of them came alone. These are not 4-year-olds trekking from Honduras across the Mexican desert. These are 16, 17, and in many cases older than 18 young men who are claiming to be minors. I mean, they aren't coming across with their passport, their birth certificates. So if a kid comes across and they've got a 5-day growth of beard and tell you they're 17, in fact, we've had examples of these kids being put into school, and I say kids, and then we later find out that they're 22 years old and they're a freshman in high school. So we don't know who a lot of these kids are. A lot of the children that are being brought across with adults, those aren't their parents. And there's talk about doing DNA tests, because what you're seeing is the cartels and other sex traffickers are bringing these children across the border claiming to be their parents, because our policies have been, oh, if it's a parent and a child, we just let them go and they'll come back later for their hearing, and then they disappear and you never see them again. Now there's a question of, are these children, these young adults who are with adults, even their children? So it is a complicated mess. It is not something new, and it has been played out in the media, as we're learning, in a lot of false ways. For example, the Time magazine that had the little girl, she wasn't separated from her mother. The mother actually left her 3 kids and her husband in Honduras and came here without the knowledge of her husband. So when you're ripping people apart from their families and they're voluntarily leaving their families, those are two different stories.
All right, so let's go back for initially when it began, and there was some separation, and as we heard, all right, we're going to enforce this, is what he's saying. And at that point, do you think some of the idea was they knew it was going to get, I'm talking about the administration, the attention it got when they started separating the families, and that maybe it would send a message to those coming, trying to bring children, or whatever age they may be coming here, saying, look, this is what's going to happen if you come. And they think maybe that would serve as a deterrent. Because for many out there, they're going to say, look, it's real clear now. You come with a kid, we're warning you ahead of time. You may be separated. That was initially it. Do you think that was part of the strategy, maybe?
I think so, and I think it's been part of the strategy. Again, this was happening during the Obama administration. Jay Johnson, who was one of his national security advisors, said this weekend, we were doing the same thing, and the intent was to make it clear, don't do this. Dragging these children, in cases where people are bringing young children across this desert, is dangerous and deadly. We don't want them doing that. There are other ways to go through the asylum request process and try to get into this country legally with the asylum request. What you've got right now, though, is people are gaming the system. Again, they're figuring if I come in with a child that may or may not be my own, I get released and I'm in the country, and then I'm good to go. Or they're declaring the quote right words that have been told to them, say this, and then you'll get a hearing later, but you'll be released in the meantime. So to stop the gaming of the system, they started doing that. Now the separation of the children, we need to keep in mind, is because a federal judge ruled you can detain the adults, but you can't hold the children more than 20 days. So what are the options? Do we put the children in jail with their parents while they're being detained?
Which is a standard thing. You don't put
or do you let everybody go?
Right.
I mean, and if you let everybody go, that's what they were counting on. And again, we're not going to just let everybody go. And again, keep in mind that most of the people who are coming across are not bringing children, and these children are increasingly being sent by themselves. 10,000 out of the 12,000 that have been taken into custody, 10,000 out of 12,000 came unaccompanied by any adult.
And
again, that's that 16, 17, 18-year-old young men.
So what did you think of then the president then kind of reversing and saying, well, look, we don't like to see them being separated, and changing his policy with that executive order?
I think it shows the heart of President Trump. I mean, we saw the same thing when you had Syria allegedly bombing and gassing some of their own people. You know, they immediately took military action.
This was maybe going to happen. We just talked about that maybe it was a strategy, and there were going to be some disturbing images, whether it's 2,000 or 10,000, a couple thousand little kids being separated. No one likes that image. No one, even if you understand the force of law behind it, makes it justified. And no one likes it. But he had to kind of know that. I mean,
I don't think so.
Because he doesn't like reversing his opinion, and you know that.
He doesn't like to reverse his opinion, but keep in mind that the pictures that drove so much of this of children in dog cages were from the Obama administration. This has been the policy. They were putting children in smaller cages and treating them in worse conditions under Obama. So if you're looking at, well, you know, we're just doing the same thing that the previous administration did, why is it a controversy now when the same congressmen who were screaming and pitching a fit did not say a word when Barack Obama and his administration were doing the same or worse?
All right, the issue here, to some degree, is the crackdown, as they're saying, going. And it's to the point now, I wondered what you thought of this. I don't know about you, but my concern, at least in this day and age, would be more about, you know, heroin dealers bringing their product into this country than the illegals. I'm sorry, that's just me. Maybe you don't agree, but I think drugs is a lot more serious problem. All right, and so they're already hearing from the U.S. attorneys down in that part of the country that they're going to have to deal more with their staff on this immigration thing, prosecuting everyone. They don't have the staff to continue working on the drugs coming in.
But part of that is because there's been this impression that if you come in and declare I'm seeking asylum, that you can get a pass. So we've seen this flood of illegals coming across.
Do, though? I mean, I understand that, but gosh, you know, to me, there's no comparison between smuggling in, you know, kilos of heroin and someone illegally coming across. Both wrong, okay? But one's a heck of a lot worse. Are we misplacing our priorities on this, where it's just such an emphasis? These guys have to put all their staff. They're trying to get more U.S. attorneys there to help, and I heard some have sent, but not nearly enough. I just wonder if it's like, all right, that's an awful lot on something that's not as serious as some of these drugs coming across the border.
I think you have to ask yourself, though, when you're looking at sex trafficking and human trafficking, how many of these people that are being brought across are being brought across by these coyotes, the people that you pay $6,000?
Right.
So again, how does somebody in Honduras get $6,000 to pay this guy? What happens is they give them a little bit, and then they have to work it off when they get here. So we're seeing people actually put into slavery conditions because they're having to work for the cartels, they're having to work for these dangerous people who've brought them across the border, and then you have to work for them till they say you've worked off their debt. So they're fronting the money
to get over here is what they're doing.
And then is it sex trafficking? Is it just human slavery? Are they working as a custodian somewhere at no wages because they are trapped and they're trapped in the shadows? It's a lot worse than just, oh, I'm bringing somebody who then goes and starts doing lawn care in Brentwood.
All right, we're going to take a break on that note. We're going to come back with your phone call, 737-7587. Peter, Fran, and others. Stay there. The lines are open. Just so you know, Steve Gill joining us this morning. As you know, a Republican political analyst. And like I said, we had someone on last week. We had Elliot Osment and others on last week on the other point of view on this. Now it's the other side's turn, and Steve's sharing that. So join in the conversation. We'll be back with more of our conversation, your phone calls right after this. Stay with us.